Leeches are invertebrates that belong to the class Hirudinea, which is distributed across almost the entire planet wherever there are bodies of water, except for the poles, the first due to the cold and the second due to the salinity of the water. They are closely related to earthworms and have a flat, elongated, and slimy body. Although their name and reputation suggest that they feed solely on blood, this depends on the species. Some consume mollusks, worms, and other smaller animals, and even some of their own size. You might assume they're parasites, specifically ectoparasites, but we need to make a distinction here. A parasite is a living organism that establishes a host-parasite relationship in which the host does not benefit, while the parasite gains the most advantage. However, this definition can be somewhat ambiguous because under this explanation, all predators, whether herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores, could be considered parasites. To clarify, a parasite derives multiple benefits. First, it obtains nutrients directly from a host. Next, it gains shelter, allowing it to reproduce and spread to new hosts. Depending on the type of parasite, it may infest multiple hosts or be exclusive to a single species. Additionally, in their adult stage, some parasites remain with one host, while others transfer to another. For example, there are many species of fleas, and some only parasitize one particular species. However, as adults, if something happens to their host, or simply due to colonization, they may invade other animals, usually of the same species. In contrast, internal parasites, such as tapeworms, may have different host species throughout their life stages, but as adults, they cannot survive if they attempt to infect a different species. As you can see, parasitism is so complex that an entire field of science, parasitology, is dedicated to its study. Now, these characteristics do not apply to leeches. Their only interaction with a host is feeding on its blood. You might argue, well, that's exactly what parasites do. But leeches do not invade an animal's body with the intention of staying, reproducing, and spreading to others. The simple fact that they are blood-feeding, hematophagous, is not enough to classify them as parasites. If that were the case, vampires would also be considered parasites, which is not the case. Furthermore, if we're being strict, leeches can even provide benefits, as we will see shortly. And now, it is time to talk about medicinal leeches. Medicinal leeches is the term used for certain species of leeches that serve a purpose in medicine. The most common is Hirudo medicinalis, found exclusively in Europe, Hirudinaria manalensis, which inhabits Mexico, Hirudo orientalis, located in the Middle East, and many others. If I am not mistaken, all of them are exclusively hematophagous and have been used at some point as a medical remedy. Leeches belong to the phylum Annelida, which means they must have a worm-like body composed of segments or metameres along their length. It is estimated that this phylum has existed since the Precambrian era, meaning they have been on the planet longer than most species. Most leeches have a similar morphology, growing to about 8 inches in length and displaying a range of dull colors such as olive green, brown, or a mix of green and brown. Their bodies are flattened and produce a slimy secretion to retain moisture. And if you already think they look awful, just wait. Things are about to get even creepier. Each end of a leech features a sucker, called the anterior and posterior suckers. The anterior sucker serves to attach its mouth parts, which consist of 3 sharp, serrated jaws arranged in a Y shape, each lined with about 100 smaller teeth. These teeth are designed to cut into the skin at a depth sufficient to create bleeding, allowing the leech to feed. Now you know that nature is not just beautiful. It can also be a nightmare machine. The posterior sucker helps the leech gain leverage and detach once it has finished feeding. Just so you see, every part of its body serves a purpose. Although it may seem that the bite is very painful, it is not, because the saliva contains a substance that acts as a local anesthetic, preventing the blood from clotting and stopping its flow. They contain various proteins, such as hirudin, which functions as an anticoagulant. This has been used in medicine to treat different disorders throughout history, which we will see later. The medicinal leech feeds strictly on blood, making it a hematophage. It can consume 10 times its body weight, with 0.2 to zero point 0.5 fluid ounces being the average volume taken. This means that when it approaches an animal, its size is tiny, and when it finishes, it looks like a blood-filled balloon. But something that will surely impress you is that they can go up to a year without feeding. To detect their prey, leeches are stimulated by shadows, body heat, water disturbances, or the prey's chemical substances that diffuse into the liquid environment. And just because a leech feeds on you doesn't mean you're in danger, at least not from blood loss. The real danger lies in infections that can arise from the bite. The anticoagulant has a short action time, but it is enough for bacteria to enter the body. Another risk comes from where they feed. If they do so inside the mouth or nose, their increasing size can block the airways or cause bleeding in those areas. This usually happens when drinking water from certain springs or wells. Their reproduction is somewhat complex. To begin with, they are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both sexual organs, but these do not communicate with each other. Cross-fertilization is the rule, so a single leech cannot reproduce alone. The introduction of sperm can be direct, as in mammals, or be deposited in a sticky sac. This is interesting because they exhibit behaviors of both vertebrates and invertebrates. They lay around 50 eggs, placing them near water in shaded and humid areas. The parents take care of their offspring and ventilate them by undulating their bodies. After hatching, the tiny young remain on the mother for weeks before searching for food. Their lifespan can reach up to 25 years, but during this time, they fall prey to other animals, such as fish that attack them while they swim, or on land, they can be eaten by toads, crabs, or birds. In fact, they have so many predators that it would take several videos to list them all. One of the biggest questions is how to prevent them from approaching when we are in a body of water. Unfortunately, there is no product that guarantees they won't come near, as they are attracted to shadows and heat, something you cannot eliminate. Therefore, it is recommended to wear clothing that covers the skin and, above all, avoid entering natural ponds with stagnant water. However, it is very difficult to prevent them from getting close, as they can also move on land. If you're bitten, you should not pull the leech off, as this could injure the skin. There are several methods to make them detach, such as bringing a heat source or a cold object close to them, applying vinegar, or, in an extreme case, urine, a measure similar to treating a jellyfish sting, although the reason they detach is different. A large part of humanity has used leeches as a way to treat diseases in various cultures, turning them into an almost miraculous panacea for curing any ailment. It is important to remember that bacteria were discovered only 300 years ago, and before that, people believed that diseases were caused by evil spirits, curses, or other supernatural issues. It is estimated that leeches have been used since 800 BC for different medical purposes as part of a process to balance the humors, according to Galen. He believed that these humors, of which there were 4, blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile, needed to be kept in balance for the human body to function correctly. For example, when a person suffered from skin disease that turned their skin red, it was thought to be due to an increase in blood volume, so blood needed to be removed. Similarly, if someone became angry, it was believed to be caused by an imbalance in the humors. With the advancement of science, it was discovered that this was much more complex than just an increase in a bodily fluid. To correct these disorders, leeches were used to reduce the amount of blood in the body. Almost all prominent doctors throughout history have used them to treat some ailment, although, in reality, they do not provide significant help, as their analgesic and anesthetic effects are very limited and only local. Additionally, the amount of hirudin they produce is scarce, and its function is less effective than that of other medications. At this point, you might be wondering, how can this animal save my life? Well, it's time to talk about that. All of this is due to their feeding habits. When reconstructive skin surgery is performed, whether due to an accident, a burn, or plastic surgery, the most important factor is restoring the graft's normal blood flow. If this does not happen, the graft can become necrotic, infected, or be rejected by the body. To help restore normal circulation, leeches are used. By sucking blood, they force an increase in blood supply to the area, allowing the body to form new capillaries and establish new blood circulation. Additionally, they prevent blood congestion and clot formation, which has been proven to be highly successful and has helped many people. Leeches have also been used to combat varicose veins. Varicose veins are venous dilations characterized by the inability to effectively return blood to the heart. The use of leeches causes them to disappear. They have also been used for muscle cramps, thrombophlebitis, and osteoarthritis, and perhaps most importantly, for necrosis. When a person suffers from necrosis in a limb, leeches can help prevent a total amputation. Instead of removing the entire gangrenous limb, doctors may opt to remove only a portion. I once met a person who, thanks to leeches, only had a few toes removed instead of their entire leg. For leeches to be used in medicine, one condition must be met. They must be sterilized to ensure that their bite does not cause an infection or transmit parasites. That is why they are bred in specialized farms to guarantee that, at least from the leech itself, no complications arise. These are animals that many people fear, but remember, if you ever encounter one, it might just save your life. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and share it so more people can discover this channel. I'll leave my social media links so we can stay in touch, and I'll also use them to share important updates about the channel. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you next time. Goodbye.